Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Heyy. I'm going to quickly make this video before the sun goes down. Today's video I'm going to be talking about 5 things that I gained through isolation. This summer, the summer that just passed, I realized that I spent most of my time in isolation and it wasn't intentional, but I ended up gaining so much from just being by myself and just really being alone. And I know that's something that a lot of people have a problem with. Lots of people have a problem with being alone. They like to be around people, they just can't stay by themselves. But you guys, this is something I really believe that everyone should try, because I gained so much in isolation. But these are the 5 things that I gained that really changed my life, and I mean it like 100%. So let's get into this video. First thing I gained in isolation was that I found truth. And this basically means that in being by myself, and it's really because I was on social media, I was on social media sometimes, but barely. I just really slowed down everything, just took time to be by myself with my own thoughts, with my own reflections. And in just separating myself from the world in a way, I found truth that a lot of these things, they really don't matter. Like, you are so sucked into the, would I say, internet culture, social media culture of, wanting to know everything that's happening. Like, it's so important. Like, knowing what is happening everywhere else is so important, but the truth is that it's only what's happening to you and within you that's important. So staying by myself, I realized that the current happenings online, it doesn't really affect my life. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't add anything to me. It doesn't make my life better. It doesn't make my life worse. I mean, I know things like news are good, to know what's going on in the world, but like the general social media culture of like, oh, what's happening? What happened to this person? Or what did this person do? It's so unimportant. And just being by myself maybe learned that, because I used to be a social media person. But then after coming out of isolation, I was like, these things don't actually matter. They don't matter at all, because I was perfectly fine. My life didn't change when I was not caring about what other people were doing. Like, I felt so much lighter, actually. I felt so much better, because and what's the point? Like, who cares what other people are doing? And I feel like that's also a problem that people have, because we are so fixated on what everybody else is doing. We just start to feel terrible about ourselves. We don't give ourselves the praise for the things we are doing, because we are comparing ourselves to other people. So we feel like we're doing less, or we are not as good as other people, or we're not worth as much as other people. Other people are better than us, because we are so into social media. We're so into everything. We just cannot take the time to think about ourselves, to congratulate ourselves for everything we've been doing. Because we are just so scared. And then it's also difficult for some people because of the fear of missing out. They feel like if they're not on social media, then they'll miss out on something so important. Please, there's nothing important on social media for you, and I mean it. There's nothing there. Just try a day, 24 hours, no social media. See if anything in your life will change. And I mean it. Nothing will change in your life. Nothing. You'll be in fact, you'll be better. So let's get to the second thing I gained. The second thing I gained from isolation is peace. I found so much peace in just being by myself that I didn't realize how noisy and chaotic being around people can be sometimes. Because being by myself, I mean, there was nobody to annoy me, nobody to get on my nerves, nobody to piss me off. Because it's just me. If anyone was going to piss me off, it would be me, because it was just me and myself. So being with myself, I gained a sense of calmness that I feel like I did not have before. In fact, I'm actually sure I did not have this feeling of calmness before, because you're always like, people come into your space, they just ruin your vibe sometimes, and then they take you out of character sometimes, or they just generally ruin the vibe of the whole atmosphere sometimes. But then when you're just by yourself, it's just you only do what makes you happy. You don't have anyone trying to trigger you in different ways. You just find this sense of peace. So I would say, if you've been around people a lot and it's just been so crazy and messy in your head, you know, you're always different feelings, emotions because of people, and you're forced to react differently in ways you don't like, and it's just so messy. Your head is just so because of how much like people are, would I say, taking away from your peace. I would say you should try isolation. Really try isolating yourself for just, honestly, just try the shortest period of time you think you can do. Just try that, and I promise you, your life will change. And this will take me into my third thing that I gained. The third thing that I gained from isolation is better social skills. And yeah, it ties into the second one, because after taking time to just be at peace with myself, not worrying about other people, you know, just taking time to reflect, just be very self-aware, aware of my emotions, aware of how I feel, you know, realizing that, wow, I really don't get angry that much. It's really people that make me triggered, and so I react. Like, that's something I realized, that I'm really not a person, like, I'm actually quite calm, or I can be very calm. And when I learned that and learned to go within myself and just find that sense of calmness, when I finally like ended my isolation and started talking to people more, it's enabled me have better social skills, because then I wasn't reacting the way I used to react anymore. I was just so calm. Like, I didn't feel the need to say too much or do too much. I was more willing to just relax and listen to what people had to say. I wasn't pushy. I wasn't, you know, I could just calmly pay attention to the other person. Like, my communication skills like tripled, like quadrupled. Like, it just increased so much, because I just learned to calm down and just listen to other people, because I didn't feel like I had to react. I didn't feel like I had to just be extra. I could just calmly listen to what they had to say and then communicate back in a calm and nice way. And I could really tell that it improved a lot of my relationships, because there wasn't that need to do too much or say too much that I had before. So if you can relate to this, that means you should isolate. Fourth one. The fourth thing I gained from isolation is I found God again, really. And I mean, I was brought up Christian, and I went to church as often as a Christian should, with my family and everything, but I won't say I was a Christian. I wasn't really living like a Christian. I wasn't really intentional about being a Christian, and just being in isolation, it made me start thinking more about my relationship with God and trying to just find ways to get close to him. Because before, I never really used to think about God. Like, God never used to cross my mind, honestly. But since I started isolating, I started thinking about God more, trying to find ways to connect with him, form a stronger relationship. And from my short period of isolation, because it really wasn't that long, I feel like my relationship with God has grown so much stronger, because when you're in isolation, God could properly speak to you, or you could sort of feel his presence more. You could sort of understand him. I can't even explain it, but it's just so great, because I feel like it's hard for God to speak to you in a noisy environment, because you probably won't be able to hear what he's saying, or it could just get mixed in with other voices of other people, other things you have to do. You're so busy, you're doing this. But when you're just calm, alone and isolated, God could properly get to you and tell you what he needs to tell you or speak to you. And I really feel like God spoke to me a lot in isolation. And yeah, I just felt so much better. And it's honestly been great since then, because I've been building on the relationship that I formed with God during isolation, and every day it grows stronger and stronger, and I learn a lot of new things. And that's one of the best things I feel like I gained from this isolation, because I honestly feel like if I hadn't isolated in that way, I wouldn't have been able to form such a strong bond with God, because I would be so stuck in doing a lot of things, like with friends, with going out. Like, God would have not had time to properly speak to me, and would I say drag me back to him. So that's something I'm really grateful for. The fifth and most impactful thing that happened to me in isolation was I found my identity, and in finding that identity I found purpose. Because I was in isolation, I could properly reflect on my life, the decisions I had made, reflect on my emotions, how I typically react to things. I could probably figure out who I am, things that actually trigger me, what triggers me. I finally, because I took time to reflect, I was so self-aware in that moment that I learned a lot of things about myself that I didn't previously know, because we just react. We never really try to take steps back, to retrace our steps, to see what led to what. So by doing that, I really gained so much perspective on the type of person I am, and in that I found purpose. It was through isolation that I realized that I'm really good at speaking to people. I'm really good at talking to people, and I should really take my YouTube seriously, because I always used to question, like, am I really good? Sometimes I'll think, oh yeah, I should do YouTube. Sometimes I'm like, oh no, I don't think that's for me. But in isolation, I realized that I'm actually so good at this. I'm actually so good at this. And that made me realize that I should speak out more. I should speak up more, because the old me was someone who would try to fit in, or I feel like, oh, if I'm going to speak out, what if people don't like what I'm going to say? And that used to make me shy away from speaking or wanting to step up to certain things or take on responsibilities, because I just wasn't willing to do anything that will make me stand out or make people question, like, what's this girl doing? Like, those type of things. But realizing that I'm really someone that can speak, and finding my identity in that way, and knowing that, yeah, I'm someone who can speak to people, I just decided, like, so why don't I do it? Because being in isolation, I realized that nobody cares what I'm doing anyways, because barely any of my friends even noticed that I was isolated from social media and stuff like that. Like, nobody would actually notice. That's sad if you think about it, but that's really how life is, honestly. So by learning that about myself, I'm like, I mean, it's obvious nobody cares, and it's obvious that I'm good at this, so why do I keep not doing what I know I can do? And just being in isolation made me realize that, like, that revelation came to me while I was in isolation. And that's the main thing, because for a long time I was, would I say, searching for purpose. Like, I know there has to be something, like, what's my calling, and it's something I think about, like, almost every day. Just being in isolation and just reflecting on me, my personality, how I've reacted, the things that make me react, how my emotions work, how emotional I am, how sensitive I am to some things, just learning that about myself, how well I talk with people, my communication skills. I realized that I think I can actually do this. I think this is me. To be honest, I feel like if I wasn't in isolation for that period, I really don't know if I would have become more consistent on YouTube, because I was such a wishy-washy YouTuber. Like, I would post once every 3, 4, 5 months, but now I know I'm supposed to speak, so now I'm speaking, and it feels really good, because I feel like I finally stepped into what I've been wanting to do, but I did not realize. So that is the fifth thing I learned, and it's been so wonderful ever since I isolated for the first time. Now I'm intentional about isolating. Like, I actually try to just take time away from everybody, shield myself and enclose myself in my room, and just take time to just be by myself, because I know how much I gained from the first time I isolated, which wasn't intentional, because there were still a lot of COVID restrictions. Nothing was really happening, no school. I had nowhere to go because I'm still new in this area, so I didn't really have friends. So I was just forced to isolate, and now I choose to isolate because I gained so much from that. And if you feel like, for some reason, you just feel like this video is speaking to you, like, yeah, maybe I should try this, that feeling is not for nothing. If you really feel called in a way to isolate, then you watch this video for a reason. And I'm so glad if you got to the end of this video, because this video is a great video. Like, so yeah guys, those are the 5 things I learned, and If you like this video, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Support your girl, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.